The old woman who waits at the bus stop every night. I used to take the late bus home every night. It was the only option after my shift at the diner, and by the time I got to the stop, the streets were mostly empty, except for her, an old woman. She was there every night, sitting on the bench, bundled in a long gray coat, a tattered scarf wrapped tightly around her neck. She never boarded any bus. She never spoke to anyone. She just sat there, waiting. At first, I didn't think much of it. There were plenty of homeless people in the city, and maybe she just used the bus stop as a place to rest. But something about her unsettled me. Maybe it was the way she always seemed to be staring, not at me, not at anything in particular, but just through everything, like she wasn't really there. One night, I finally got the courage to speak to her. "Are you waiting for a bus?" I asked. She slowly turned her head toward me. Her skin was pale and wrinkled, her lips cracked like old parchment, but her eyes, they were empty. "The last bus is coming," she said, her voice barely a whisper. I frowned. The last bus had already passed. I had just gotten off it. "There aren't any more buses," I said. She just smiled, a slow, hollow smile. I took a step back. Something about her expression made my stomach twist. Then, without another word, she turned away and continued staring down the road. I left quickly that night, not bothering to look back. The next night, she was there again. Same place, same posture, same vacant stare. A cold wind blew through the empty street, but she didn't seem to feel it. I hesitated before stepping closer. "Are you okay?" I asked. This time she didn't answer right away. Her head tilted slightly, as if she was listening to something I couldn't hear. Then, in that same frail whisper, she said, "He'll be here soon." A shiver crawled up my spine. "Who?" I asked. She turned those lifeless eyes toward me again. "The driver." I didn't know what to say. My pulse quickened. "There's no bus coming," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "The last bus already passed." She smiled again. This time I noticed something strange. Her teeth. They were too sharp. I took another step back, my heart pounding. "Have a good night," I muttered and hurried away. As I turned the corner, I heard something. The hiss of brakes. The low rumble of an engine. I whipped around. A bus had pulled up to the stop. But it wasn't the city bus. It was old, rusted. Faded letters on the side barely spelled out a name I couldn't recognize. Its headlights flickered dimly, casting long shadows across the street. The doors creaked open. The old woman stood up. She turned to me one last time, her empty eyes glinting under the streetlights. Then she stepped onto the bus. The doors slammed shut, and just like that, the bus disappeared. Not down the road, not into the night. It just vanished. I stood frozen, my breath caught in my throat. The bus stop was empty. No sign of the old woman, no sign of anything at all. Just the cold wind whistling through the silent street. I never took the late bus again. The room that wasn't on the hotel map. I travel a lot for work. Airports, rental cars, overpriced hotel rooms, it's all part of the routine. After a while, every hotel starts to feel the same. Dim lighting, outdated carpets, vending machines that never work. But this hotel, this one was different. It started when I checked in. The receptionist was polite but distant, barely making eye contact as she slid my key card across the counter. "Room 721, she said, her voice flat. I nodded and grabbed one of the small hotel maps from the stand beside me. It showed a simple floor plan, marking out the elevators, exits, and amenities. As I waited for the elevator, I glanced at the map. There was something strange. The highest numbered room on the 7th floor was 720. My brow furrowed. 721 wasn't on the map. When I got to the 7th floor, the hallway was empty. A long stretch of identical doors, the numbers in neat gold plaques. I hesitated. The hallway should have ended there. But just past room 720, tucked away in a dim corner, was another door. Room 721. It looked like the others, but something was off. The number plaque was slightly crooked. The door itself looked older, as if it had been there long before the rest of the hotel. The wallpaper around it was peeling, like it had been exposed to moisture for years. I reached for my key card. The moment it touched the lock, I felt a sharp chill run down my spine. The door clicked open. Inside, the room was normal. A bed, a desk, a TV mounted on the wall. The air smelled stale, like it hadn't been occupied in a long time. I tossed my suitcase on the bed and pulled out my phone. No Wi-Fi signal. Figures. I sighed and went to the bathroom to splash some water on my face. When I looked up, the mirror was wrong. My reflection was delayed, not by much, just half a second, but enough to make my stomach tighten. I waved my hand. My reflection followed, just a little too late. I turned away quickly, my pulse picking up. Maybe I was just tired. I went back to the main room and flicked on the TV. Static, every channel. Annoyed, I grabbed the hotel phone to call the front desk. No dial tone. I was about to put the receiver down when I heard something. A faint whisper. I pressed the phone back to my ear, heart pounding. The whisper was too soft to make out, but I could hear breathing, deep, slow, right in my ear. I slammed the phone down. I tried to sleep, but the room felt wrong. The silence was heavy, almost suffocating. And then, at 3:07 a.m., I woke up to a sound, a knock, soft, deliberate, coming from inside the closet. I held my breath. Another knock, slow and steady. I grabbed my phone, its screen casting a faint glow in the dark room. No signal. My pulse thundered in my ears. I forced myself to move, slipping out of bed and creeping toward the door. The knocking stopped. I didn't dare turn around. I yanked the door open, stepped into the hallway, and slammed it shut behind me. At the front desk, the receptionist's face went pale when she saw me. "You were in room 721?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, still breathless. She hesitated, then pulled out an old registry book from under the counter. We don't rent out that room." My blood ran cold. "But..." She turned the book toward me. Room 721 had one occupant listed, a name, mine. The check-in date, 30 years ago. My friend died, but still messages me. It started with a message, a simple hey from an old friend. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But this time, it sent a chill down my spine. Because my friend, Danny, had been dead for 2 months. Danny and I had been best friends since high school. We did everything together. Late night drives, camping trips, hours spent playing video games until the sun came up. He was the kind of guy who could make you laugh even on your worst days. Then he was gone. A car accident. Instant. No pain, the doctor said. But that didn't make it any easier. His funeral had been packed. I remember standing there, staring at his casket, unable to process the fact that he wasn't coming back. His mom clutched my arm, sobbing, whispering, "He loved you like a brother." That night, I sat alone in my apartment, scrolling through our old messages, reading them over and over. I couldn't bring myself to delete them. It felt like erasing him from my life completely. But now, 2 months later, there was a new message from Danny. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. "Hey." That was all it said. For a moment, I thought it had to be a glitch. Maybe someone hacked his account? Maybe his family was going through his phone? I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I clicked on his profile. It was the same as before, his old profile picture, his posts, the last thing he had shared before the accident. Nothing had changed. I told myself it had to be a mistake, some weird error with the messaging system. Then, at 2:13 a.m., another message came through. "I miss you." My stomach dropped. I didn't reply. I turned my phone over and tried to sleep, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. The next morning, I checked my phone. Another message. This time, it was a photo. I tapped to open it, my hands shaking. It was a picture of me from last night. Lying in bed, eyes closed, phone still in my hand. I jumped out of bed, my skin crawling. Someone had to be messing with me. Someone had to be in my apartment. I checked the locks, the windows, everything was secure. I tried to call the number. It went straight to voicemail. I blocked the account. I told myself that was the end of it. I was wrong. That night, I had a dream. I was standing in the middle of an empty road. It was dark, silent. Then in the distance, I saw headlights, getting closer, too fast. I tried to move, but my feet were stuck. The car hit me. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone. Another message. "It hurts, my vision blurred, I could barely breathe." Danny was trying to tell me something. The messages got worse after that. Some nights, I'd hear my phone buzz, and I'd see messages like, "It's dark, where am I? Help me." I started waking up to scratches on my bedroom door. Things in my apartment were moved. My chair, my keys, my shoes left in places I never put them. One night, my TV turned on by itself. The screen was pure static. And then, a voice. Fate, my name, over and over, whispered. I ran out of my apartment that night and stayed at a friend's place. I finally reached out to Danny's mom. I didn't tell her everything. I just asked if she still had his phone. She hesitated, then said something that made my blood run cold. We buried it with him. I hung up without saying another word. Danny's phone was underground, so who was messaging me? I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I knew what I had to do. I drove to the cemetery in the middle of the night. Rain pounded against my windshield as I made my way to his grave. I shouldn't have been there. But something inside me needed answers. I knelt by the headstone, heart hammering. My phone buzzed in my pocket. One last message. I'm right here. The rain stopped. The air was dead silent. And then I heard breathing, right behind me. I never turned around. I ran. I left town the next day, changed my number, deleted my social media. But sometimes late at night, I still hear the notification sound. And when I check my phone, there's always a message waiting. Hey,